What if I told you that paying sky-high rent doesn't have to kill your savings, your weekend plans, or your ability to invest, and that a simple budgeting rule called the 30-30-40 rent hack can keep your finances healthy even when rent eats half your paycheck? Stay with me for the next 15 minutes because I'll walk you through the exact step-by-step 30-30-40 framework, show you real-life examples of people who used it to regain financial freedom, and reveal 3 practical tweaks you can implement this week. No extremist frugality required. Let's start by explaining the problem. Most young professionals in big Indian cities face rents that are rising faster than salaries, and the default advice, move to cheaper places or get a higher paying job, isn't always possible, fast, or convenient. The result? People settle into a survival mode where rent devours their income, EMIs stack up, savings dry out, and retirement feels like a faraway fantasy. The 30-30-40 hack is designed to rescue you from that slow financial leak without wrecking your lifestyle. Here's the essence. The 30-30-40 rule divides your take-home pay into 3 buckets: 30% for essentials, excluding rent, 30% for rent, and 40% for savings, investments, and discretionary spending. And the real power comes from how you optimize each bucket to stretch every rupee. Before we go deeper, a quick myth buster. This is not another cut your coffee lecture. It's a structural shift that forces your money to work smarter, not harder, so you can keep the life you love even in high-rent cities. Let's break down where most budgets fail. People either allow rent to balloon and then try to cut essentials, which harms quality of life, or they let discretionary spending drown their savings. The 30-30-40 hack prevents both by treating rent as a fixed slice that's intentionally planned for. How do we implement it? Step 1 is to calculate your actual take-home salary after taxes and employer deductions. Never plan with CTC because that number lies about what you truly get in hand. Step 2, set aside 30% of that take-home as your rent budget. If your current rent is more than 30%, we'll show you exact tactics to bring it down structurally without immediately moving or losing lifestyle. Step 3, allocate 30% to essentials: groceries, utilities, transport, EMIs, only the productive ones we'll define later, and recurring subscriptions, and keep precise tracking so this bucket doesn't leak. Step 4, funnel the remaining 40% into 2 sub-buckets: savings, investments, minimum 25% of total salary, and discretionary, the rest for entertainment, eating out, travel. This keeps life fun while forcing discipline. Now the big question, what if your rent is already at 45% or even 60%? Don't panic, we've got 7 practical moves that combined can reduce your rent equivalent pressure quickly without you having to uproot your entire life. Move 1, negotiate your rent like a pro. Landlords expect negotiation and a smart pitch: longer lease in exchange for lower monthly rent, paying a couple months in advance, or offering to take care of small repairs, often cuts 5 to 15% off the asking price. Move 2, split costs intelligently. Not just rent but utilities, streaming services, grocery deliveries, living with one compatible roommate, or sharing a 2 BHK can cut rent per person dramatically while keeping lifestyle intact. Move 3, use location trade-offs. Keep your social life and weekend hangouts in the same area, but choose a slightly less central flat with great transport links. Time lost in commute often feels worse than the money saved, so balance both factors. Move 4, extract extra value from your rental. Negotiate to include Wi-Fi, electricity cap, or a parking spot in the rent, which effectively lowers your monthly outgo for essentials and lets your 30% essentials bucket breathe. Move 5, convert cost into value. If you're paying for convenience services, bake them into your essentials and compare per usage cost versus DIY. Our 200-month laundry plan might be worth it if it saves you 2 hours of freelancing time. Move 6, leverage employer allowances. Some companies offer house rent allowances, HRA, or relocation benefits. Track them, claim HRA in tax filings, and use the savings to top up investments rather than extra spending. Move 7, strategically refinance EMIs and subscriptions. Reduce non-essential EMIs and move high-interest credit card debts into lower-interest personal loans or balance transfers, so essentials bucket isn't overloaded indirectly by debt. Let me show you 3 practical case studies so this isn't abstract. Case A, Priya in Mumbai earning Rs 90,000 take-home with rent Rs 45,000, 50%. Case B, Arjun in Bangalore earning Rs 60,000 with rent Rs 24,000, 40%. Case C, Seema in Delhi earning Rs 45,000 with rent Rs 12,000, 27%. Priya's problem was immediate: Rent at 50% left her little for savings and investments. We applied 3 moves: negotiate a 10% cut, find a roommate for a second room, and claim tax benefits via HRA. Within 2 months, she brought rent down to 30% effectively by combining real savings and tax savings. Arjun's issue was discretionary leakage. His rent at 40% was borderline, but he was burning the rest on subscriptions and eating out. After implementing strict tracking in the 30% essentials bucket and redirecting 10% of discretionary into SIPs, his net savings shot up without sacrificing weekend dinners. Seema was already below the 30% but wasn't investing. The 30-30-40 hack helped her restructure so 25% of income went directly to SIPs, an emergency fund, letting her keep her lifestyle and still build wealth. The point is, the hack works across income levels. Next, let's dissect the essentials bucket. What truly belongs in the 30% essentials and what's inflating it. Essentials: shakes, groceries, power, water, fuel, transport, basic mobile and internet, and productive EMIs like home loan or education loan. Everything else gets scrutinized. Productive versus non-productive EMIs is critical. A home loan or education loan tends to be productive because it builds asset or earning capacity. Consumer durables and gadget EMIs are non-productive and should be minimized or refinanced aggressively. Here's a pro tip: list all recurring payments and subscriptions right now. You'll be surprised how many set and forget charges are draining your 30% essentials or bleeding into discretionary. Cancel anything you haven't used in the last 90 days. On the savings side, the 40% block must be layered. First, build a 6-month emergency fund into a liquid fund or high-interest savings account. Second, create a debt repayment buffer if you have high-interest loans. Third, allocate to SEPs, equity for long-term goals. And fourth, keep a travel fund bucket so life remains joyful. Why this order? Because liquidity and debt control beat fancy returns. Without an emergency fund, you may need to sell investments at a loss or take high-cost loans, which undoes years of wealth building. Let's talk numbers. If you earn or $1,000 take home 30% rent, or 30,000 30% essentials, or 30,000 40% savings discretionary, or 40,000, that are 40,000 can be split into our 25,000 SIPs and investments, or 10,000 fun, or 5,000 short-term savings. Do this consistently and you'll be amazed. But how to maintain this discipline month after month? Use automation, set standing instructions right after salary credit. 30% to rent account or earmark it, 30% to essentials account, 40% into 2 buckets: investment SIP and discretionary wallet. Automation removes decision fatigue. Apps and tools help. Use a budgeting app with rule-based envelopes or create multiple accounts on your bank. A rent account for rent debits, a bills account for DDs, an investment account for SIP debits. This architecture makes overspending far harder. Now here are 3 behavioral hacks that make the rules stick. First, the 30-minute purchase rule. Wait 30 minutes before any discretionary purchase above $1,000. Second, the visualized goal. Set a picture or number of your future goal as phone wallpaper. Third, the accountability partner. Share your savings target with a friend who checks weekly. Let's address common objections. But I can't find roommates. Try remote co-living platforms, short-term roommate trials, or subletting a second room through verified apps. But commute will kill me. Do a 2-week commute test before saying no to a cheaper place. Another objection: I need privacy. If you must live alone, squeeze value out of the rent by negotiating a longer lease for a lower rate, or take a slightly smaller apartment that still fits your privacy needs but costs 10-15% less. If you are owner-occupier paying a home loan that feels like rent, the 30-30-40 rule still works. Treat your EMI as part of essentials, but leverage tax breaks under HRA Section 24 to adjust the effective payout and reallocate savings to investments. A crucial element is annual review. Once a year, rerun the 30-30-40 with your latest salary, rent, and expenses, and ask 3 questions. Did rent rise? Did essentials inflate? Are my savings growing? Then adjust automation accordingly. Let's do a full live example with real math. Suppose take-home Rs 80,000, current rent Rs 36,000, 45%. Step 1, negotiate 10% down to Rs 32,400. Step 2, share with a roommate to drop to Rs $16,200 each. Step 3, reallocate freed money into SIP of Rs 10,000 and emergency fund of Rs 6,000. Within 6 months, the renter goes from stressed to comfortable. If moving or sharing isn't possible immediately, use interim hacks. Institute a 90-day rent saving sprint where you channel any windfalls, bonuses, and cashback into a rent cushion so you can plan a long-term solution calmly rather than panicking. Remember the psychological component. Rent is visible and feels permanent, but discretionary spending is invisible and slips by. The 30-30-40 structure makes both visible and accountable, so your decisions are intentional. Okay, quick recap. Calculate take home, earmark 30% for rent, 30% for essentials, 40% for saving and life. If rent 30%, use negotiation, sharing, employer benefits, and refinancing to bring pressure down. Automate and review yearly. If you're ready for an extra level hack, consider geo arbitrage. Keep your job in a high paying city, but move to a satellite town with lower rent and commute smartly a few days a week. Remote work makes this possible for many. One last mindset shift. Think of rent as an investment in your living standard, not a punishment. Optimize it like a CFO, negotiate, extract value, and balance it against growth goals so it's a conscious choice rather than an invisible drain. Before we finish, here are 3 immediate actions to take right now. 1. Calculate your real take-home monthly salary. 2. Divide it into 30-30-40 buckets and set up standing instructions for automation. 3. If your rent exceeds 30%, pick one of the 7 moves we outlined and commit to executing it within 7 days. If you follow these steps consistently, you'll not only survive high rent, you'll thrive, having the freedom to travel, invest, or even switch careers without packing financial stress into every decision. If this video helped you, hit like, subscribe, and comment below with your city and whether rent is crushing you. I'll reply with a tailored 2-step plan to get your rent under control in 30 days. Create a DIY 30-30-40 budget template in Excel and tell me in the comments what happens. Small actions compound into big freedom. Final thought, cities change, rents fluctuate, but your financial rules can be constant. The 30-30-40 rent hack isn't a straitjacket, it's a safety rail that lets you enjoy urban life without sacrificing your future. Thanks for watching. We are Penny Power Pro, and we will see you in the next video.